This exam is probably the most difficult one you sit in your whole life. But it is totally possible and feasible to pass it. So welcome to this video. I hope this video can help you to gain more motivation and some guidance on how to study for the RCVS exam. However, please do not expect any content to be disclosed. All of us have to sign a disclaimer saying that we will not share any content. I have been receiving several messages from candidates asking for some guidance, and as I unfortunately no longer have the time to provide one-to-one sessions because of my job, I am trying to gather the most frequently asked questions in this video. So how long did I spend studying for this exam? To summarize, 1,000 hours. Okay, so I've been studying for this exam for 3 years. In the first 2 years I was still in university, so I didn't have much time. I would only study 2 hours per week for 2 years, so, which was very little. Then after I qualified I came straight to the UK and started dedicating myself much more to the exam. Yes, so within 1 year I studied for 1,000 hours. I also had to work. I could afford though to work part-time so that I could have more time for placements and study. And in the beginning I was working 3 days per week and studying 3 days per week. But as the time came, as the exam date came, I felt very overwhelmed, and I thought it was better to stop working and dedicate myself only to the studies. Yes, so please also expect this. It can be too much to work and study until the very end. Yes, I understand. Everyone has different circumstances. It might be necessary to work and study, but if you can plan yourself to make some savings to keep you going through the last 3 months before the exam, I think this will be very helpful. But to summarize, 1,000 hours, this included studying for the theory and the OSCEs. Yeah, so for the theory exam, I studied 800 hours in the last year. And then the other 200 hours were for the OSCEs preparation. In terms of placements, I did 15 weeks of placements. This was obviously divided in many different phases of my life across these 3 years preparing for the exam. And my strategy was booking the placements 1 year to 6 months in advance. I think the top question is, what resources should I use for the RCVS exam? And I think that's the most tricky question, because the RCVS shares a list of multiple books that you can read, and well, they are very good books indeed, but how on earth are you going to find time to read all of them? I don't know. I did not. So the way I searched for information in books was by having a target in mind. Let's say, for example, today I need to learn the most common causes of colic in horses. Okay, so I would look for that piece of information specifically in the books. I will also share a list of the books and articles that were most helpful for me. Okay, so that you can also have a look into it. But please, I know everyone is different, but I honestly think that reading a book from beginning to end is not helpful at all. Yeah, because first, you're going to lose lots of time. You're going to waste lots of time. 2, you're going to forget because it's too much information. And 3, I think you'll not be focusing on what's most important anyway. Because books, they have too much information. And how do I find out what's most important? I would say placements and chatting with colleagues who did other placements would be most useful for you, because that's the only way you find out really what's routinely seen in the UK. Yeah, and then okay, you do need to know some exotic diseases, some rare diseases, because the RCVS exam will not have any mercy. They will sometimes put exotic diseases in the exam, but most of it will be about common diseases. So you need to know what's more common so that you can focus on your studies, yeah? So I think doing placements is really important before you start like your marathon of sitting down and studying, so that you can direct your attention to what's most common, right? So I would suggest do your placements before you start studying hard, and book placements in between the time of finding the results of the theory test, which usually takes about a month after the test, and the practical test, because that's when you actually need to be doing stuff, putting your hands on and training your hands to do physical stuff, yeah? In terms of other resources that were particularly useful for me, I'm going to make a list of them because I think it's going to be more productive, more time effective for you to read them. But NADIS, really important for farm animals. Okay, NADIS is more for farmers, but then I thought I need to know at least as much as a farmer does before I can progress into knowing medical stuff. So NADIS was really helpful. Notes, and I think that's the most polemic part of it, because notes are not easily accessible, because my notes from my university, they were not helpful. What I learned in university only helped me with 20% of this exam, yes. I did have access to notes from veterinary students in this country, and I cannot deny the privilege of it. Sadly, I'm not allowed to share them, and I think I'm really sad about it, because these are copyrighted, and people did not give me the allowance to share them. But I would say that's why you need to do placements, and that's why I think you should try to work within the veterinary industry in the UK, to know people and to express your difficulty and ask for notes. Yeah? And I think this will be really helpful, because you will be understanding exactly what's expected from a student in the UK. Yeah, what do they learn? How do they learn? Regarding vet prep and Zuka review, yeah, I think they can be helpful. Bear in mind they are designed for the US exam, US and Canada exam, the NAVLE. So they will have things that are not suitable for the UK. However, they help you to train to do multiple question exams. The thing is, it's really important for you to do them quickly. And now both Zuka Review and Vet Prep, they have the test mode, in which they put you under pressure to reply to multiple questions within a very short time frame. And that's how you're going to do your RCVS exam. You have like a tiny bit more than 1 minute to reply to complex questions. They will tell you a story, they will give you a clinical case, they will give you some important pieces of information that you should not only read but also interpret. And you know, there will be tricks in the questions as well. In both NAVLE and Zuka Review, they help to prepare you to not only read the lines, but read in between the lines. So I think they are useful, but do not expect them to help you 100%, okay? You need to compare the information that you have with the UK reality, yes? So bear in mind, no resource will help you 100% for this exam. I think have a combination of resources that together will prepare you for the exam. Do not rely only on one resource. And obviously, this requires time, yeah? It would be much easier if there was something like, oh, the book for the RCVS exam, but there isn't, okay? And I would not trust any courses that say they are RCVS training courses, because The RCVS doesn't have any, so everything will be non-official, okay? So yeah, if you want to pay for it, if you have the money, okay, give it a go, but do not trust them blindly, all right? Yeah, the question is, how do I know if I'm ready for this exam? I know this might sound very disappointing, but I personally think you'll never feel ready for this exam. Just too much. It's just too much. It's just as if you were doing finals in the UK. Yes, and in many countries, such as in Brazil, where I come from, we don't have finals, so we don't have a single exam that will cover every aspect of university. So this can be quite new for you. Yes, so I would say do as much as you can, and if you can afford to give it a go, just give it a go. It is a very expensive exam, so I do understand if you want to feel safe, want to feel ready to sit it before you pay for it. However, I don't think that's possible at all. You just need to try it. Be brave. Don't be afraid of failure. If you don't pass it once, try again. This can be quite personal. People can motivate themselves for many different reasons. For some people, just passing the exam is enough of a motivation, just feeling proud for doing this difficult exam. For other people, the motivation is having a better financial life, living in the UK. And for other people, the main motivation is going away from bad working conditions, moving away from a country that you don't identify yourself with. Yeah, so it's kind of moving away from something that annoys you. Yeah. In my case, I think the third option was what kept me motivated throughout the whole time. Brazil is a lovely country, very warm, weather's perfect, but to work as a vet, I didn't find good working conditions. So from day one, since I qualified, I knew I wouldn't work in Brazil. Yes. I think this is the strongest source of motivation. Yeah. If you have a comfortable life and doing this exam is just like optional for you, you will lose motivation at some point. But if you make yourself aware that the current circumstances is not favorable, not satisfactory, and you want to move away from it, then you probably have a better motivation. But I must say, this is not the kind of exam that you do on your own. And what do I mean with that? I mean, you need a support group for yourself, yeah? For some people, the support will be the family, their spouse, or even the kids. For me, my spouse was my motivation. Yes, I am married to a medical doctor who has been through exams probably as difficult or nearly as difficult as this one. But having contacts, having colleagues who are also sitting the exam and keeping in touch with them was like really, really important. And I was lucky enough to find 5 other Brazilians that was sitting the exam, and like this we could share our feelings, we could speak in our own language, and we could share lots of material that we were finding useful, and also share our frustrations. Yeah, so I would strongly advise you to find other people that are sitting the exam and connect with them. Have this kind of support can be extremely helpful to not only find content to study from, but also keep motivated. In my particular study group, we also did webinars. So for example, if interested in behavior, if my friend had experience with farm reproduction, we would prepare presentations and have like a weekly meeting to discuss, to present it to each other, to discuss the topic, and also to share our thoughts about it in general, you know, make friends. Also, in terms of motivation, manage your expectations, okay? If you expect that, for example, you have a schedule of study and that you follow everything perfectly, you're most likely going to upset yourself. I think schedules of studies are good, they're helpful, but you need to be able to change your strategy while you're studying, because life is not steady, life is not perfect, and at some point you need to be flexible and change your strategy of study according to the results, according to your state of mind, and the events of life. Be aware the passing rate of this test is quite low, yeah, so be prepared to sit it again if need be. Yes, by managing your expectations, I think you can also reduce your anxiety levels. It is possible to pass in first attempt. I did it. I know other people who did it. However, I think you should be prepared to have at least 2 attempts for this test, okay? And staying in touch with your friends and having this type of support and care for each other really, really helps. An extra tip would be try to make the most of the mock questions that the RCVS provides to you. These will be sent to you as soon as they receive your payment, and they're basically 100 questions, 110 questions actually, 10 questions about legislation, which honestly I don't think you need to worry about it, okay? If you are worried about it, forget about it. The most difficult part is the theory, the clinical questions, okay? So get prepared for them first and then think of the legislation questions, because it's an open book. You can search in the internet for the answers, and you can have access to the code of conduct, basically. But sorry, moving back to the mock questions that the RCVS is going to provide to you, I would suggest do the first time you do them, do it on the timed mode already, okay? Because that will give you the feeling of pressure that you will have during the exam. And then you only have one chance to have this feeling, because if you, for example, if you do the first time without the timer, without the time pressure, then when you do it with the timer, you already know the questions, you'll be familiar with it. And I would strongly recommend then that for the first time, that your first contact with those questions should be with the time pressure, yeah. Then the second time, then do on your pace, on your time, search for the answers, and basically I made lots of mistakes in those questions, and it's okay. The first time I did them, I got I don't remember exactly, but it was in between 30 and 40% of right answers, yeah? And obviously I felt concerned about it. But then what I did was, like, I searched every single question. Then after that, you receive the answers, yeah? And I didn't make myself satisfied with it. I would search, why is that the right answer? Because sometimes it doesn't look like the right answer, and try to get 100% of those questions as part of your preparation. But be aware, the actual exam will feel more difficult than those questions, okay? Be prepared for that. Even so, I think these questions are really important. It will help you. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. If you have any commentaries, please feel free to write them down. As I said in the beginning, unfortunately, I don't have the time to give one-to-one sessions anymore. However, if you have many other questions that I haven't covered on this video, I can consider doing another video to answer those questions. Yes, and best of luck in this exam. You can do it. You can do it. For some people, it might take longer than others. For some people, you might require special adjustments to do the exam. But regardless of the difficulties you have, remember, you can do this exam and you can pass it.